Expansion is happening. Your own expansion is happening. Not for expansion of the universe are we delighted about your willingness to understand this, but for the deliberateness of capturing your own moment by moment joyous experience. It's supposed to feel good to you. You're supposed to vacillate between something that's really fun and something that's interesting, something that's fascinating, something that calls you. In other words, not one of you said, I'll go forth and I'll be the one who suffers. I'll go forth and I'll stir it up and I will deliberately hold myself in vibrational resistance to my own expansion. And so I'll have a lot of struggle and a lot of pain and a lot of grief. And when others look at me, they'll feel better about their lives. None of you said that. What you said was, I'll go forth and I'll come to new awarenesses and I'll feel the vibrational difference in the newness, but I'll find a way to focus until I make it my own vibration. And when I do, then manifestation will come as demonstration, as actualization, as manifestation of the thought that I've been holding. But it's not just the manifestations that are your indicator. It's not just those vivid demonstrations that we want you to focus on. It's the emotion in the moment, because the emotion in the moment is literally letting you know what pathway you're on. And the way you feel lets you know how you're going to feel when you get there. So, do you get the idea of this vibrational reality? So as we've been telling you the story of the vibrational reality, we have been calling it the vortex, the vibrational reality, the vortex of creation. Wrote a whole book about it. And we wanted to get your attention that as you expand, that we stand in your vortex, maintaining the frequency of what you've been asking for. But today we want to remind you that every thought you think is causing a vibrational version to be created. In other words, you've got vibrational versions of wanted and unwanted. So let's say that you're disappointed in something. Doesn't matter how it came about. Maybe somebody told you something, maybe you observed something, but you're feeling disappointed about it. And as you begin to feel that disappointment, you've got 17 seconds to head it off. Esther said to a friend the other day, there's something I need to tell you and I've only got 17 seconds to do it in. So listen up. You've been saying to us for a while something that sounds a little bit like, Abraham, I've jumped out of an airplane. I have no parachute. What do you think I should do now? And we say, hang on, it'll be over in a little bit. Because there's a momentum that is underway that there is not a likely action that you're going to find that's going to change the direction of your free fall. So a similar thing happens when you get this thought momentum going. So let's say that you have this thought, and with this thought comes this feeling, but you're not queued up, you're not determined yet, you're not really wanting yet to maintain control of your thought. And so you just let the thought unfold. And as it does, you add more to it. Law of attraction actually adds more to it. You begin to remember other things like it. And now you're off and running. And now you've crossed the 68-second point, and so it seems logical to you that you should call someone and discuss this with them. And you know exactly who to call, don't you? You know who to call. So you call that person who lets you vent and who often has insightful, equal things to say in return. So now you've really got good momentum going on this unwanted thing. We just want to point out to you that that's what carving that pathway is. Been telling the story of some pipes in Texas that help a pond function. Some pipes draw water out into a filter, and then other pipes allow the water to go back in. It's the filtering process for this pond. The pond got all cloudy because some of the pipes were clogged. And we say they were clogged from neglect. So we want to say to you that you've got some clogged pipes about things that you want because you don't think about the things you want. And you've got some open pipes about things you don't want because you give it a lot of attention. So we're suggesting that you let the pipes that lead where you don't want to go just clog up from neglect while you open the pipes to things you do want with your thought. Don't you like the picture of that? The other day, Esther was visiting with a friend, and they had such a synergy going, so much good momentum going. The words that they were saying, it felt so good. Energy was running all through Esther's body, and it occurred to her, this feeling of this energy running, by the time there's enough momentum going, it was way more than 68 seconds. It was a minute or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 15 or 20. It had been many minutes of staying in this high-flying good feeling. And it occurred to Esther, can you imagine what we are doing with those pipes? If it feels like this in our body, where's this energy going? It's going outward into the universe. It's opening pathways. It's opening pathways between where I stand and where I want to be. Pathways that law of attraction will cause rendezvous all day, every day. So there is a momentum to your thought. A momentum to your thought that causes the pipelines to be open. Pretty simple concept, isn't it? I'm going to open the pathways to things I want by talking about them in a way that feels good to me when I speak about them. And I'm going to let those pipelines that are leading to things I don't want just close up from neglect. And it is our promise to you that through those pipelines, through those vibrational pipelines, will come all manner of things to surprise and delight you. First thing that comes is emotion. Emotion is the first manifestation. We want to call emotion a manifestation. What could be realer than that feeling of love, or that feeling of appreciation, or that feeling of passion, or that feeling of worthiness or eagerness or clarity? What could be a more tactile, visceral demonstration or manifestation than the emotion that is rippling through your body? Are you willing to call it a manifestation? We don't care. We're calling it a manifestation. Emotion is the first manifestation that lets you know the direction of your thought. And it won't show up immediately. You have to be sensitive to it. In other words, if you wait until the momentum's really going before you recognize it, now it's harder to stop. Imagine being in San Francisco. Your car's perched on the top of the hill. And just to demonstrate to yourself what momentum is, you bump it a little from behind. And then you come to your senses because you realize what's going to happen because you're smart. And you step right out in front of the car and it bumps up against you and nothing happens. You stop the momentum before it gets started. But what if you were waiting at the bottom of the hill for that car? You have a different feeling about momentum at the bottom of the hill, don't you? So we're suggesting that the sooner you catch the momentum of a thought, so that you know if it's a thought that you want to perpetuate or cease, whether you want to turn the other cheek. Jesus had a really good idea. Whether you want to give your attention to it and therefore perpetuate it, or whether you want to withdraw your attention from it and cease your vibrational and subsequently manifestational relationship with it. Clear, isn't it? It's so clear. We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. We are eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. There is nothing that is off limits. You're going to notice about us that we are not going to eagerly pursue a discussion on things that may be opening pathways or keeping pathways open or adding momentum to unwanted things. While we do understand that step 1 is an important part of the equation, we'll hear you briefly, but we really would like this gathering to be for you about feeling the momentum of open pipes toward what you want. We would really like this gathering to be a resetting of your vibrational button. We would like you to leave this gathering at a different vibrational frequency than you began with here today. And we are excited about not only how it feels while that's happening, but what comes next and what comes next and what comes next and what comes next. Because there is a certain momentum that will demonstrate itself to you, which will return you, our favorite part, to your understanding of your worthiness, to your understanding of your value. Because there is nothing that makes you feel more worthy than to sift and to decide and then to deliberately align and know that you have, and to feel the satisfaction of that alignment in the moment and moment and moment and moment, and then to witness the demonstration of your alignment. Nothing will make you feel more worthy. Nothing will make you feel more invincible. Nothing will return to you your sense of self-empowerment as much as that. When you feel about something as the source within you feels, you feel always positive emotion. Joy, exhilaration, love, appreciation. So any variance that feels like overwhelmment or irritation or anger or fear or depression or grief, any of those emotions mean you're looking at it very different than the source within you, and that's your guidance. Now, if we were standing in your physical shoes, we'd be reaching for thoughts that caused us to blend with the vibration of our source, because we understand how the whole thing works, and that's why we want to explain it to you. As you've been here in this physical body as an extension of that source energy, you've been sifting through the contrast, as we said when we first greeted you today. You've been sifting and coming to new awarenesses, new preferences, new ideas of what would be better for you. And every time that happens, your inner being, that source part of you, becomes the vibrational, pre-manifestational, vibrational reality of that. So now you've caused your inner being to expand, to be more prosperous, to have more fun, to feel more exhilarated. You've caused your inner being to expand because of what you've been living. The question that this workshop wants to accentuate, emphasize, and soothe within you is that the question is, where are you in relationship to this new expansion? And your emotions tell you that in every moment in time. So the happier you are, the more blended you are, or the more resonance you have with that, or the more allowing you are. The more negative emotion you're feeling, then the more resistance you have, the bigger the gap is between you and you. And happily ever after is about that closing gap. Not necessarily the closed gap, just the moving in the direction of closing the gap rather than moving in the direction of widening the gap. You're not ever going to get it done. You're not going to really ever close that gap until you croak. We try to be as disrespectful as we can about the deaf subject, since there isn't any. But that's what that is. That's that complete closing of the gap, leaving behind all resistance and reemerging completely with that furthermost expansion that you have become. So, in explaining to you that you are a vibrational being, we want to call your attention back to what you're doing here and now in relationship to all that you've become. So we wrote a book a while ago. It was entitled Getting into the Vortex. Are you aware of it? We talked about the vortex incessantly because we wanted you to realize, we wanted you to take that step in understanding that you are creating vibrational realities that you're not yet living. And that's the vibrational version. That's the thought version. That's the get the thought out there in advance. Law of attraction is actualizing around it, but unless you are a vibrational match to it, it doesn't come into your experience. So we want you to realize that the things that you think about, wanted or not wanted, have created vibrational versions that will manifest if you keep the vibrational momentum going long enough. That's the clearest we've ever said it. Wanted and unwanted, right now, vibrational state beings or experiences will become actualized if you keep the momentum of those thoughts going longer. So the question is, do you have realization of whether you want it or not? And biggest question, have you practiced so that you have the control or focus of your own thoughts to focus on things wanted and to no longer focus on things not wanted, or mostly? That really is what deliberate creating is all about.